I think a key ingredient might be purpose, because,
Mm.
like we said, reflecting back, you want to reflect back, but you want to do it with a purpose. You want to set goals, but you want to do it with a purpose. And you don't just do it for the sake of it.
Welcome to the Red Print, your wellness podcast. I'm Daanish.
I'm Rachel.
And I'm Neil.
Today we're going to be talking about reflection, including how to set goals for your future,
How to understand your values.
And the importance of acting with purpose.
Welcome to the Red Print, your wellness podcast.
How are you both with reflecting? Are you good reflectors?
I used to think I was awful at reflection. Like whenever I got an assignment that said I had to reflect, I would dread it. I just thought that I was awful at it. But then what I realized is that I kind of am awful in some ways. Like I if there's anything I don't want to reflect on, I'm not going there, don't reflect on it, it's not happening, cool, fine. And that's how I cope with some things, is just moving on from them. But also I'm someone who is just constantly reflecting in a way. Like I'm always reflecting in the moment. Like if I'm teaching, I'm always thinking, okay, what's going well, what's not going well, what can I improve? Those questions are always going on in my head. And like I'll be thinking about where I am in life, what's going well, what's not going well, where do I want to be? So I do a lot of casual reflection and I'm comfortable with that. I think I'm just not good at the reflection, which is about the stuff that I don't want to think about. So when I'm in control of it, and I kind of also, when I know it's got a happy ending as well, when I'm like, how did that thing that I just did amazing at go? Well, guess what? It went really well. I'll reflect on that. But if it's something that didn't go well and I want to move on from, I'm not so good at reflecting on that. What about you, Neil?
I'm really similar. I'm very similar in yes, the respect of I don't like to reflect on things that have gone badly, and I need to really force myself to do that and really force myself to kind of pick up from those bits. I am very good at reflecting. I think we're probably really similar with this, like on the short-term stuff, on like immediate things, and very like task-based things, being like something I've just done, how can I do it better? Longer scale, longer term things, like I tend not to be someone who spends a lot of time like way back in the past and thinking, oh, look at how far I've come, or look at where I want to be in 5 years' time. Like I just don't really, my brain feels very overwhelmed with that sort of stuff. Whereas I love little jobs and little tasks and like thinking about how to perfect bits. But yeah, long term, I find much more difficult. Daanish, you struck me as a person who would be good at thinking about the long term.
Okay, so yeah, I do enjoy it. I'm not gonna lie. So, however, that's a skill. That's a skill, because at first I was, as both of you mentioned, I was just focusing on the now, and then my brother, he drilled into me like, "This is what you need to do it." And then when I was younger, I was like, "Nah, I don't need to do that." But now I realized he was telling it for the benefit of myself. So what I now do is I look at what exactly, of course, in 5 years' time, where I'm going to be, and then I take time out of my day to visualize where I'm going to be, and then that in line isn't is with my task that I'm doing every single day. Like as you guys mentioned, writing down, perfecting those little bits. Those bits can be relevant to what you're going to be doing in the future. So it's just about, I suppose, just understanding what the heck you want at the end of the day. Like, what are your goals? Like, they're not anyone else's, they're yours. If you're listening to it, you can do whatever you want. We've mentioned it. Write down anything. It can be anything. Just do. It doesn't have to be a small goal. I think a mistake I made was making very small goals, and then the problem with that is you potentially aren't as motivated as these massive goals. Because let's say, if you're trying to reach a massive goal and you're short of that massive goal, you're in a very good position, because it's like, I suppose you're just short of this amazing goal. But then it's in line with taking those actions, like writing it down. Because if you perfect just those little things, I think it's very important to do that, because then you're not distracted by this grandeur image in your head because you're doing the tasks. you're being realistic about what you got to do. So understand what you want, break it down, and then perfect it bit by bit.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. And it's made me think about Neil, actually. So as someone who works for Neil, I'd say something he is really good at is reflecting in the moment. Like you said, reflecting on tasks. And an important thing with reflection, I think, from what you're saying, is having a goal in mind, having a purpose for reflecting. And that's something I noticed from working with Neil, is like you'll reflect on things, you'll think, okay, what went well, how can we improve it next time? And it might be a really simple thing, like, okay, we posted that post at this time, you know, if we post it at a different time next time, what will that do? And there's a lot of reflection like that. And I think maybe that's what I struggle with other forms of reflection, is I feel like I'm not doing it for a purpose, or I'm doing it just because I've been told to for an assignment, and I don't really understand why I'm doing it. Looking back with a purpose and with a goal, I think is a helpful idea.
That's it. Like you can adapt, you can figure out the best route.
I think part of the reason why those sort of things are nice as well, and the short term is nice, to me it always feels more achievable. Whereas my concern with like having a big goal is like, what if I don't achieve it? I know it's a ridiculous thing to say, but I think that's actually sort of what stops me, is that like if I say, I was watching a thing with Jim Carrey the other day. It was like he was doing like an address at a university, and he was saying when he was young, he wrote himself a check for 10. Have you seen it? It's good. It's good. It's a nice little talk. It's like 10 minutes or so. And he wrote himself a check for $10 million. And that was like, and the rest of the stuff he's saying is a bit spurious. It's very spurious. It's like, if I put it out into the world, then it will come back to me. Like, it's a very easy thing to say when you are now rich. But you know, the general idea was I willed this thing. I had this item, this symbol, and that made me push toward that continually. And I think that's really, I think it's a really good, positive thing to be able to do. But yeah, I think my problem is always that if I put that in, it then means that I succeed or fail. Whereas what I quite like about the short-term stuff is that I think if I concentrate on things in the moment, and if I reflect on those things in the moment, all of those things will eventually add up and something good will happen. Like something that I don't know yet, but something good will happen, as long as I'm paying really lots of attention to things in the moment. I'm not just like, oh, whatever, let's just see what happens. Which is it, and it's interesting because I would really like to be, I think, more motivated by a specific goal and have a specific idea to be like, right, by the time I'm X age, I want to be doing this, this, and this. I'm really envious of that way of thinking, but my brain just doesn't seem to let me do it. And I think it's fear. I think that's where it comes from.
It should scare you. The goal should scare you. It should be like, I'm not sure if I can do this. Because then through that, you'll change. And then as the Jim Carrey one, he was like, how $1 million, 10 million, 100 million check. And then he achieved it on this certain date in his wallet. He didn't have any money. He set a check for $1 million and he received it. I think the important thing behind that is, what I gathered from that is, you mentioned sending it out to the universe, stuff like that. I think with your goal, when you're going towards that goal, when you're adapting what you need to do every day to get towards that goal, it's going to come to you because you're working towards it every single day. It's not like a pie in the sky that's just going to drop and fall in front of you. You have to, like, I suppose, do the work daily.
It's kind of interesting though, because I think that you can have this combination of the big goals and the big reflection, the small goals and the small reflection. Because if I look at my life, for a long time, from like my second year of uni, I had decided that I wanted to get a PhD, be a lecturer. I had thought about what I wanted my life to look like.
Yeah.
And I had decided that was what I wanted and that is what I was going to aim for. And I crafted everything around that. I even, like, that's even why I went to Canada and took a year out, because I was like, well, I'm going to be spending a lot of time at uni. Let's chill out for a little bit. And everything was about that. And I was constantly working on that, constantly. Every decision I made was about getting to that point. And then I got to that point. I got this job and my life changed. It was the best thing on the planet. And I'm, you know, the happiest I've ever been in my life. And it's amazing. I love this job so much. But now it has shifted my mentality. I haven't got that big, massive goal to work towards now. And I am much more looking at these small things, like Neil said, but I don't feel like that's a bad thing for me, because I feel like what's happening instead, because I'm in a different circumstance. Then I didn't have any money. I didn't know, I don't know, I was just in a much different situation. Whereas now I feel like, okay, I'm settled, I've got that. And now by chasing these smaller goals and doing this smaller reflection, what I'm doing is crafting a life that I enjoy, and just at a smaller scale. It's like, yeah, I'm in the position I want to be. So now that I'm there, for me, it is much more these smaller things, and it doesn't feel like a bad thing, and it doesn't feel like I'm disappointing myself or let myself slip. It just feels like I'm in a really privileged position now. And yeah, I haven't got a big thing to chase. I've got these little things instead, and they make me happy too.
The idea of being future focused, I'm ambivalent to it, in not the respect that I don't think it's a good thing, or I don't think it's, I don't think it's either good nor bad. I think when you need it, it is there. That's always what it's felt like. When I need to be future focused, when I need to have a goal, I will gravitate towards that, and I will create that thing for me. I think the idea of just being future focused for the sake of it and having these big goals for the sake of it can also be can be problematic. It can get in the way, because you then stop noticing, you stop enjoying the little bits. You're just focused on the end rather than the process of things. So that's on one hand. The other hand of it, on the other hand, is that I do like the feeling of having a goal, and because it means that I can act with a lot of purpose. That I can then really, and exactly like you're saying, Rachel, with the job, it's like you can act with purpose, and you can do all of those things saying, yeah, this is somehow going to contribute to that thing. This is somehow going to contribute to what my overall goal is. I'm not quite sure what it is. So I really feel on the fence with this one. I think it's very, very context dependent on what you need at that stage to keep you motivated and to keep you like getting up every morning being like, cool, I'm excited about today. Sometimes I'm excited about today just because I'm like, I'm just going to do some cool stuff. And other times I think, yes, I'm excited about today because if I do this every day for the next 3 months, then I'll get somewhere.
That's it. I think it's important to have a mix of both of them, because you can't really just focus on one without the other. Well, you can, but you'll be missing something. Because if you're too focused on the big goals, you'll lose your day-to-day operation. If you just focus on your day-to-day operation, and then what about the big goals?
Based on what both of you said as well, I think a key ingredient might be purpose, because like we said, reflecting back, you want to reflect back, but you want to do it with a purpose. You want to set goals, but you want to do it with a purpose, and you don't just do it for the sake of it. And I think some of this as well relates to age and where we are in our lives as well. Like if I was sat here as the second year student, I would be like Daanish, and I'd be there with the big goal and be, that's who I was. I was just like, that is my goal. That's what I want to do. And it was the most important thing to me. Like I was just constantly working for that. Whereas now that's not something that's important to me. So setting a massive goal, I wouldn't have a purpose to do that. So instead, these smaller goals work for me. And I've changed, but I'm still kind of the same person, but I'm just doing the things that serve me and that are useful for me. And that's changed over time. And that's fine.
I agree.
It's interesting hearing that. I 100% agree. And this sounds like a very, very cliche thing to say, so I am fully aware of that before I say it. But I think for a while, my goal after achieving those sort of like task-based ones of like, I would like to do this thing. It's like I want to enjoy what I do. Like that's fundamentally what I want to do. Like I'm not really that fussed about what it is, but I want to enjoy what I'm doing. I want to have fun. I want to. And that's sort of it. Like I want to have fun. I want to enjoy what I do, whatever it is. And that has been a nice goal. I like that it's non-quantifiable at a later point, because I like that it doesn't get to the end of the year and I go, have I really enjoyed what I've done here? I'm rated, what's on the scale. I like that it's non-quantifiable, but I can hold myself account to it because I know how I'm feeling. I know how my body feels. I know when I'm having a nice time. I know when I'm not having a nice time. So it's still measurable, but it's not so quantifiable that I feel like I've succeeded or failed at a particular thing. And I can then adjust and say, right, well, why am I not? What am I missing here? Why am I not enjoying something as much as I might have done otherwise here? And you can sort of like gradually adjust. And yeah, that I think gives me some sense of purpose, because it points me towards certain things and it points me away from other things. You know, some opportunities come up, they'd be a technically great opportunity. Would I enjoy it? Would I have fun?
Yeah.
Probably not. Cool, leave that. And you're right. So yes, what we circle around to, purpose. How have you found what your purpose is at this stage?
So there's this thing called reflection. I know.
Go on.
So that's how I found that's what I did with my life. And I think that I'm quite weird in how focused and clear I was about what I wanted. Like I said, from second year, I had a meeting with my personal tutor, and I had this idea in my head, because this is really embarrassing. When I was like younger, like really young, I used to walk around my bedroom pretending I was giving lectures, and I liked the idea of that. I used to watch like lectures on telly. I thought that seems pretty cool.
I have a question.
Yeah?
Can I ask what the content was? Can I ask what the study units were?
Oh, anything. I'd be like, like think of a word. I'd be like, technology. What is technology? And I would just like do this to myself, like time. What is time? I would do this around my room. You know, caps. What are caps? I would do this. So I kind of liked the idea of it for a long time. And then,
wait, how old were you?
Like probably like 6 or something.
Oh, that is amazing.
I just
Did you used to do it to your family as well? Like, was this just to you, or would you like
just
go
myself.
and like?
Okay, walking around in your room. Yeah.
It was just to myself. Yeah, just I'd walk up and down my bedroom. What are curtains? What are they?
You can imagine like a cape or a gown behind you, flowing majestically.
It was serious stuff. Like I'd walk around like this. Yeah. So I used to like do that to myself. So I kind of liked the idea of it, but and I had never. But I felt like I didn't fit in academia when I started in first year and everything. Didn't feel like I fit in. Didn't feel like it was for me. But I still kind of wanted this, and I liked the idea of the life that it could give me. And then at the end of my second year, I had a meeting with my personal tutor, and she just said, like off the cuff, not even thinking much of it, about something. She's like, "Oh, well, you could do a PhD," and it was not. I hadn't told her that I wanted that, but she said that in passing, and it gave me permission. And then from that moment, I was like, great, this is what I want to do. And what I was thinking about with that was maybe not even the things that people typically think of when they think of someone who wants to do a PhD. I thought, I want to be a lecturer because I like the life that it would give me in terms of having summer off, having like control over my life and flexibility. I know we don't have summer off, but I just saw the flexibility, having enough money that no matter what, even if I end up like single forever, I will have independence and control over my life. It was a lot of those things, and feeling mentally challenged all the time and learning all the time. There were all these things that I thought, if I have that life, if I have that job, I think I can be happy. I'll have time to spend with my family. I'll have the flexibility that if, someone goes into hospital, I'll be able to go with them, or just all these things. When I pictured my life, I thought that can give me the life I want. And it wasn't about like the status of having a PhD. It was about, getting that life, which actually related more to the things that I value a lot, like family and if you know me, I just spend all my time with my family. I love my family. So it for me, it was a gateway to that life. So I picked that through reflecting on myself and what was important to me. And that's not the same as what's important to other people. But I figured that out. And once I figured it out, set the goal with a purpose, like we said, and then aim for it.
It's very, as weird as it sounds, subconscious. Like you might already seen in your head what exactly you would like to do, if that makes sense. But you just need to realize that and actually like put pen to paper, because I believe 100% like all these visions you have in your head, all these like fancy scenarios you have in your head are there for a reason. Like everyone has different ones. Everyone has like separate ones, and they're there for a reason. They're there for a reason. And I think to get to that position, I think that's where the purpose comes in line, the feelings come in line. You have to understand, if you, as Neil mentioned, if you like to do what you do, like your gut feeling will tell you if it's good for you or not. When I feel like, of course, when I feel everything's spiraling out of control, it's because I'm not sticking to the tasks that need to be done. When I'm like, oh, woe is me kind of situation, because I'm not sticking to the tasks. But then I realized, because I was letting it slip, letting one thing fall off one after the other, that's why I felt like that. So what I learned through being reflective is making sure I'm doing what needs to be done, because then I'm keeping my performance straight. Like I remember listening to a podcast, like some days where I feel like crap, I'm like here. Some days I feel amazing. Like I'm trying to like get my finger so it's not as backgroundy. But anyway, so when you're at the bottom, you feel awful. But then when you're at the top, you feel amazing. You have this amazing confidence. But all that's relevant between these two feelings is the tasks you're doing. So if you're just focusing on the tasks, you can keep that level constant. It won't be as like dropping up, dropping down. That's for me, at least.
You know, it's about understanding ourselves and understanding what makes us tick, and about what makes us happy and what makes us feel in particular ways. And I think purpose sometimes comes from a lack of purpose. You know, and I think of the moments when I've realized about what I like. It's about when I don't have that thing in that moment. So when I left university, I was really similar, Rachel, that I had someone in my third year suggest to me that he was like, oh, you should come back and do a master's and think about doing a PhD. Da, da, da. And at the time I was like, yeah, I'm actually just knackered. Like I'm knackered from being at university, and you know, this is the end of third year. You've got loads of stuff to do. I'm just tired, so I'm probably not going to do that. Had no idea what I wanted to do, and went and traveled around for a year. And I remember being on a train, and it just came over me. I was like, I miss learning. I miss having that you know, my thoughts challenged on a day-to-day basis. I miss learning. And that was because I didn't have that thing. And I think those moments in those little bit parts where you feel unmotivated, it's because you're feeling a lack of purpose then. And that for me makes me much more laser focused on saying, right, well, what do I want? Because I need something to keep me there. So sometimes a lack, you know, you can make these decisions when you're in periods where you don't know what you want. Sometimes that can actually tell us more about what we do want.
Like when you're feeling unmotivated, when you're not sure what you want to do, just pick something and it will come out of it. You may understand through your feelings, through your experiences, what you actually want to do. Like at the end of the day, I feel like people have hints of what they want to do, but they're not sure what direction they want to go in, if that makes sense. But to that point, I say just pick a direction. Because like when you're struggling to pick a direction, I feel like that's a path as well.
So I think, like, building upon kind of what you both said, the other thing that I'm always like reflecting on and thinking about, and that impacts whether I feel good about what's going on or not good about what's going on, is how I feel about myself and the person I'm being. Because I think that's important to me too. Is what I'm doing in keeping with my values and what's important to me, or is it not? So it's not always even about just these, like, you know, external goals. Sometimes it's just, am I being a nice person? Am I being someone who I like? And sometimes that's more important to me. I'd rather make a decision that means I'm the person I want to be and not reach, you know, other external goals, than reach my goals and not be the person I want to be. So I think that links to what Daanish was saying as well, about just looking inside, being in touch with who you are.
Let me ask you both then, what do you think your values are? You know, not what's the, you know, overall purpose and overall where do you want to be in 5 years, but what do you see as core to your being?
I think the number one value that I aim towards with everything I do I aim towards it. I don't always succeed. I don't act like I'm the best person on the planet, although I am. I'm only joking. But it's kindness, and that's kindness to my. I always talk about the kindness to myself, but also kindness to others. That's the number one thing that I aim for, and I find that it's helpful for me as well because I always assume best intentions in what other people are doing. Someone might do something that annoys me, that upsets me, but I will try and assume best intention and just try and look at everything with kindness. So yeah, that's my number one value that I'm always aiming for. Like I said, I'm not perfect. It doesn't always happen, but it's my number one.
It's hard to pinpoint. I'd say one of them would be truthful. So truth, saying my own truth, if that makes sense. Tell people when they know they can do better rather than letting it slide, if that makes sense. Because at the end of the day, if you're being honest with that person, you care for them and you'll be truthful. You won't lie to them in the eye and say, it's all right. You'll say, this is what needs to be done. Because I've been a culprit of this. I'd said, let's say, for example, someone asked me if asks me if they done a good job, I'd say yes, but in my head I'd be thinking you can do a little bit better. So now it's about getting that voice out there and telling them this is what you can do better. You've done a great job, but I know you can do better.
That's really interesting as well, because that also links back with Rachel's point about kindness, because that is kindness. You know, to be nice. Because I was thinking about this before. I was like, I think for me, work hard, be nice. That would be my, like, you know, what I would think. That maybe I'll reframe that. Maybe it's work hard and be kind, because, you know, being nice is one thing. Being nice is when someone says, have I done a good job? You go, yes, unequivocally, yes, I'm there. I'm going to tell you everything you want to hear. That's niceness. Kindness is something different. Kindness is being the critical friend, not critical of, not critiquing, but the critical friend who's there to help people as well. And niceness isn't always the same thing as kindness. Right then, lovely humans. It has been great to see you. Is there anything else to cover today? Any other bits and pieces? AOB? Any other bits?
We covered everything, yeah. I believe.
Okay, correct. Then in that case, yeah, I declare this podcast closed.
Signing out.
See ya.